And welcome to Poppy's Workshop. Welcome to Sunday, the 17th of March. And I am looking at some of the system here, and it looks like I'm dropping 30% of the frames, and my throughput is actually kind of crappy. I don't know why. So I think things may be a little bit jumpy today. I'm not quite sure why. But anyway, I'm trying a slightly different setup. I bought a cheap secondary screen. It looks like a tablet, but it's just a screen, and it was like 50 bucks. And now I have dual screens, because the big problem that I had, I would have all this here, and I'm trying to show things, and if I'm looking at it in the studio that you see in YouTube, it is, let's see, so if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, well, anyway, over 20 seconds before I actually start seeing what is going on in that particular screen versus my, what is it, the OBS, that particular screen is live. So I go boom, and I see it instantly. So when I switch screens or whatever I want to do, I can see instantly. So the issue is I would have to keep going back and forth between screens. So with this, I now have an extended monitor, and that's pretty cool. So anyway, let's get into it. If you've seen the video I posted yesterday with the clickbaity title saying, basically no more scroll saw. Okay, and I quickly alleviated that in the title, and as soon as I started, the issue that I had is I just cut a lot of toys, and they have been sitting for weeks and weeks, and I would see something, I would cut it out, and just not finish it. So I made a vow to myself I was going to complete anywhere from 12 to 15 toys before I go back in and cut something new on the scroll saw. So that being said, that's why you see all this here. Did a lot of work yesterday in drilling out and profiling and rough sanding. I still have to sand inside here. So, you might have seen this before, but this is one that I did, and had to profile everything. And I did it on the Franken router. That's right over there. And drilled out the holes, getting ready to do the wheels. And in the video, I talked about what wheels I would be using. Unfortunately, the size that I really want, I just don't have, and I'm holding off buying it right now. So we'll talk about this in just a few minutes. Let's do this. So I broke my laser out, and I'm actually going to post a short video, and that's another story. I'm going to post a short video on the laser and some of the things that I'm doing on that, because I need to make a few more toys that are in the older kids, and I've got to compete with Game Boys and their phones and computers and all that. So yeah, I'll come up with a couple things. But anyway, what I was doing this morning is I was working on lasering my logo. So somewhere here, I am currently in a disorderly mess. I have the little chip that I put out with my logo on it, and I have the old logo, but this is my new logo, and this was my first try. So let me get that up to the camera here. So this is the first try, and you can see, not so good. You can see this is, this is just Baltic birch. It's not even plywood. Yeah, it's just birch. So this was under fill mode, and it took over 30 minutes to do that. I'm like, oh man, that's not good. So what I then wound up doing is saying, let me try it in line mode and go to it went to like 6 minutes. So let me get this centered here. I still got to learn how to center these things. Looks, I think, really good. The only difference is, as you can see from the top penciled in, I'm going to put in all caps a gift from. So on my larger stuff, and I'll show you some in a moment, I will laser this in. What I may just wind up doing for some of my toys, if I put it in the laser this way, or, I do have a branding iron, I'm still debating, just having, a gift from poppysworkshop.org. Very simple, nothing obtrusive, and we'll go with that. But I was actually surprised at how well that came out in line mode. So there you go with that. So let's take a look at some of the things I am working on and finished. So let's start with finished. And again, I did have a video on this the other day, so you might have seen this either in my video or on the live show with John, What If I Could. You definitely need to check that out. Check out John's channel. And, a lot of recommendations that he makes as well for other channels. Definitely support all the different makers that are out there. So I had explained earlier, let me get this in the light. I'll pivot the light a little bit here. Yeah, there we go. So my day job, we have these little pieces of paper, and yeah, it's dusty in here. We have these little pieces of paper that we put a pin in where we go. Well, of course, you're puncturing the paper every single time. You try and get it in the same hole or what have you, and it's like, ugh, give me a break. So with that, I just came up with a quick thing here. I still got to figure out a mounting mechanism, but I'll bring this into the office tomorrow and get it up on my wall one way or another, see what people think of that, and be able to make some. Maybe people will pitch in towards it, and I can use those as donations to the to Poppy's workshop and be able to purchase more wood and stuff like that with the generous gifts that I'm already receiving, which I greatly appreciate. But little things like this that I can just throw on the laser, customize them with the name, spend about 10-15 minutes doing that, do 6 up or what have you, and then to actually cut it out is pretty quick. Frankenrouter it. So not a lot of time involved in it, but I do want to be careful doing any type of commission work or gift work or things like that. They can't take up a whole lot of time because if I do wind up getting more of the need to donate more, it's going to bog me down. So I've got to be real careful. Last week delivered 20 toys to Hampton Police Department, 10 toys to Riverside Medical Center ER. I have not heard back from Operation Smile, so I'm letting that lie low, but I did hear back from, I call it checked, CHKD, Children's Hospital of the King's Daughters, something like that. It's a 130-year-old organization that has their only freestanding hospital in Virginia, and they mainly serve their patients. The children are underserved in the community. Most are on Medicare, Medicaid, that. So there's a definite need, and they do not turn anybody away. So that's one of the good things. So as I was saying, when I was reaching out and they reached back to me, and I thought about it, I said, well, hey, I've got all these toys, and they're good to, kids 6, 7, maybe 8 years old. And I'm like, oh man, I've got to think of something that is a little bit more for the older kids. So one of the things I did is I found the plans for dice baseball or cribbage baseball, either way you can call it that. And this particular one is 3/4 inch, I think mahogany, and this is my prototype, and I think it came out pretty well. I got to see if I can do it in a lighter wood, like an oak. I think a white oak. This may look really nice. What I like about the mahogany though is that the grain is so slight, almost non-existent. So that's something that I'm trying to consider when I do toys that I'm actually lasering. So that's why I broke out the laser for the first time in, oh heavens, I think since last summer. So, I have some natural colored dye there. Dye? Yeah, dice. Dye is singular and dice is plural, I think. So I have those, which I think look really nice, and then 4 different colors of the cribbage pegs that give it a little bit of variety there. So yeah, that's the one that is my prototype, and I do have another one that is made out of, I think that's also mahogany. So you can see, and this is something that I'm weighing out. This is one that I still have to drill, that we'll be drilling during this this live, because there's a lot of holes. But this is unfinished. I used a polyurethane gel on that. I really kind of like how light this is, and things are easy to see, but very easy to stain. And you got to figure that kids are going to be passing this around or eating around it, greasy fingers, whatever it is. So, I debate about it, but I will be burning my logo in the back. So what I need to do is I will be drilling out all these holes and then doing the Franken router, because if you can't quite see it. Let me hold the edge up here, get this down, so you can see that I Franken routed the top and the bottom profile, and that is pretty good. I like the way that it looks. I may add felt feet to the bottom. I have little felt feet. If they fall off, who really cares? I'm not really worried about that. Oh, let me grab this, and this was the other thing that I'm working on, and I have another one that I'm actually going to lay out myself in Lightburn. But here is Mulligan Dice Golf, and actually, I would probably change Mulligan to whoever I donate these to. This I did in Baltic birch plywood, and in order to do this right, I would need like 3 layers for storage and everything, like 4 layers. Like, I'm not going to do that, because each piece, when you look at it, it's like $2 or $3, and then all of a sudden you got $9 in wood. It's like, I don't know. So what I may do is, I'm gonna the 2 that I just showed you are 3/4 inch. I'm gonna go down to 1/2 inch to cut cost and everything. I think it's easier to handle as well, and I think that's the ideal size. So the funny thing is, I posted on my personal Facebook that I was working on a prototype on this, and one guy who, when I was a manager over for the Joint Chiefs of Staff in an IT department, he's on my Facebook, and he says, "Hey, I'd like to reserve one, haha," because he knows I don't sell for the most part. But if he's willing to give a donation, I do give gifts to those who donate. Usually it's a toy, but I mean, this is a toy. So if I can do one in a decent yet inexpensive wood, again, I lay this on the laser, make sure the settings are right, that it's it fits right, and boom, I just leave it, and an hour and a half later, it's done. And Franken router takes a couple minutes. The drilling, that's a whole nother story. So maybe I'll have an hour or 2 into it. So I think that's worthwhile. That some people will be interested in that as a gift that'll donate to Poppy's workshop. So that's another one. And then there's a strip one that I'm looking at right now that I'm going to have to lay out, and I can do that. And it's coin golf. So you'll take a certain number of coins, and depending on whether it's heads or tails, tells you how far you move. and where you move on the green, on the fairway to the green. So yeah, this is a little bit more involved one. You can have up to 4 golfers on this. And I think that's pretty cool. Not sure how that will work with kids today. You know, me, when I was a teenager, I would have loved to have that. I mean, we played paper triangle football. I don't know if you're familiar with that. You fold up 8.5 by 11 piece of paper into this tight little triangle, and you scoot it down the lunchroom table. I almost did the hockey one. And, you know, you do this. There it is. You do that when you have to kick field goals and stuff like that. I mean, those are the kind of games that I grew up on. Table hockey, either with a coin or you do the same thing with that triangular piece of paper. So, you know, at lunch we would play these things, sit across the big table, and here's the goal that you have on each side, and, you know, each person takes a turn pinking the puck, trying to get it in. And of course, you know, we would build ones out of scrap wood and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. And yeah, so that was some of the inspiration of that. So let's go down. Oh, one other thing that I'm working on. You may hear the birds outside. I have the big overhead door partially open because I was burning engraving on the laser. So this is actually a gift for a friend that I'm carving out, and I think I've shown it a couple times in different states. So this is very close to done. A little bit more fine sanding. My only regret was here. If you look, let's see. Yeah, I think you can see it. The middle I went down when I carved, which is correct in some ways, but to make it look like a braided cord. But I think what I should have done is angled this way a little bit more, that goes down, then this way going down that way, and then this way like that. I should have done that a little bit differently. I've done a couple of these before, and I think that's the way I did it. But just to show you how much I carve, this is a 3/4 inch walnut that was scrap for one of the, you know, the waste wood. So I don't want to drop this because it is fragile. So you can see I do a pretty deep spoon portion, and I took off, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch from the bottom because I wanted to go really deep inside. But here I've only got about a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch here on that. So I do take a lot away. So that's why I started with the 3/4 inch. And you can see that I do carve very deep there because I want to make sure that the heart shows up very nicely. And yeah, a little bit more fine hand sanding and then linseed on that to darken it to the lovely chocolate color. And that will be shipped out. So it's a friend I've known for, well, I've been out here 15, so at least 20 years. And that'll be for her husband and daughter, the representation of that. So moving along, I know I'm talking a lot today, you know, just because I'm not using the router. If you remember last week, I tried doing the ladders and had issues. So I wound up redoing it. And as you can see, Viola, I did it. And they look really nice. And yeah, so this will get glued both sides on. The wheels are not in. Yeah, okay, let me do 2 hands here. Okay, here we go. So you can see everything is still just dry fit, and this will go here like that. And you can see I haven't pushed it down all the way yet. Let me get those. You can see on top is where the light will go, and I just have to push that down a little bit further, glue it in. And what I will be doing is that'll be the only part that's painted. That'll be red, of course. And I decided to go, I only had a few left, is these lovely slab wheels. I think for this particular type of piece, they just look really cool, oversized. And what I also find neat, again, this is one, if you remember from, I think 2 weeks ago, when I glued up, had it in the press, and I'll tell you, it's really going to look like this. Yesterday or something, it's like, man, I know what that looks like. That looks like an ice cream sandwich. You got the vanilla ice cream and the chocolate cookies on either side. And that's what it looks like. So I'm going to call this my ice cream sandwich fire engine. So I thought that was pretty cool. Let me put that down. Yeah, everything is dry fit. You've already seen, my hippos. And here is the sheep. You've seen that. And again, that's the ice cream sandwich sheep. I took out the rattle and everything like that when I put it on the Franken router and sanded and everything. And I'll be putting it back together, if not today, this week. Like I said, no scroll saw. But some people have asked how I do the drilling for the router peg. So the peg, in this case, is going from underneath here, and will go to here. And then, as you slide it up, you drop the different rattles, whether it's going to be just rings, or whether it's going to be beads or what have you. So we do have that. And the way that I do it is when this is, I may do a rough cut on one side. So what I did is I left it level here because I was going straight. I didn't have a drill bit long enough to go diagonal. I could have made the hole smaller, but I did want to have a little bit bigger grip. So imagine you have your rectangular host piece, and you go like that. You might have, what I did is I already cut out part of this to here. Sometimes you don't have to. And everything's marked out and drilled for the inside cut. But I don't do the inside cut until I drill here. And there's a reason for that. So as I go down, I will just drill to where I've measured, and I set a stop, and then come out, of course, and then I will cut that out. The reason for that is this is pretty thick, and this way and that way. I don't think it would have been an issue. However, when you have the wood in there, you don't have to worry about the drill either A, breaking part of this here, especially if it's thinner, or as the drill goes down, let's say there's nothing here, you may wind up it's slipping and going like this, and you totally screw up the drill in a perpendicular fashion. So what happens when you have that wood in there, no matter what's going on, you're still guiding, this piece here is guiding it to where you want to go. So that's why that is cut after you drill the dowel hole. And then, hey, you may be able to take that piece, for example, I could have, since this was roundish, if you do a round hole, even better, you could take that, make that piece that you cut out smaller, and then put it on, maybe a bead top and bottom, and it spins. So it can be a rattle, a spinner, or whatever. So you're using what normally would be waste wood into something else. If you remember, I had the, what was it? The teddy bear rattle. I tried to do it with a heart, but because of the odd shape, it wouldn't work. I tried doing it this way. The smart way probably would have been this way in terms of drilling. So I would have drilled my dowel peg hole this way. See, I'm not in there. Sorry about that, folks. I drill my dowel peg in this way, and it would spin on that center axis. I think, that might have worked, but there are issues with that in terms of the thickness of the wood and everything. So, you know, I'll mess with it again sometime and see if a vertical will work. But, you know, I still like sometimes either leaving it like this or just putting some pegs or what have you. So yeah, that's it. Of course, I'm making some more tractors, and I did the Forstner bit, and these, again, everything's dry fit, are the, yeah, I keep not getting close enough here. Sorry about that. So here are the smokestacks and everything, and I'll have a big wheel, and I do have it. Okay, so let me show you. I do have a big wheel. Big wheel, keep on turning. Proud Mary. Sorry, guys. All right, so you have the big wheel, and the smooth front wheel is what I will be doing on that, just like the previous ones. And being that this is walnut, it'll be chocolatey brown. It'll be really, really nice. And yeah, so there we go. I think you've seen the other ones that I still need to finish. Some of the old-fashioned cars and things like that. So let's get ready to switch things over to. Okay, I'm trying to get my mouse to work, and there we go. Let's see. There's the split, and let's go to there. Oh, no, wait a second. What did I do? Why is that workbench, split camera? Ha! Wait a sec. I messed up. Is that... Why do I have two cameras there? Okay, let me see what's going on here. Well, it's only supposed to be one. That is weird. Okay, well, for some reason, I had some problems with the camera this morning, and let's see, we're back on that, and that's what I was expecting for the split camera, but now I've got the workbench, which is supposed to only be one. Hey, the Carver, welcome aboard. That's okay. I've just been yakking right now, trying to figure out, showing what's going on. But yeah, something weird with my camera right now, my setup. What I'll probably have to do is delete this and redo it. So I'm going to go to split camera. So at least I think you can see the right side better there. Sorry about that. So you're going to be watching the right-hand screen. So where is it? Let me get this out of the way. I move stuff so much, and I have the laser table set up right now, and I thought I had this still here. All right, let me take a sip of my energy drink, and dang, that is, you know, actually, let me try this. Let me see. Let me go back to Workbench and see if anything's behind. No, I am not seeing anything behind. That is terrible. So I'll do that. Okay, I guess that's about the best I can do for you. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I guess it's kind of weird watching this. moving the camera away. My secrets are being revealed. Okay, so what I want to do here is I am going to drill holes for the cribbage peg. So let me grab a cribbage peg here from the other one. And when you're on the game board, you want it to be able to go down so far that it gets, okay, yeah, I don't have enough. There we go. You want it to go down the hole far enough so that you get a decent friction fit. So I'm almost pre-set up, but you know, I don't want to go through this. This is really good wood here. I may use for something else. So I don't want to go through it. Wait a second, let me put my cribbage peg down here. So I know at a minimum, that's as far as I want to go. But here's a piece of scrap, and I'm sure I can use something over here, but if I drill here, what I'm thinking of is I only need to go a little bit more than halfway through. And I think that'll work. So, what we shall do, make sure nothing's in the way here. I will drill a test hole all the way down to my stop. And get that cribbage peg. And this part is just feel. That actually feels really good. You know, I want kind of that when it gets pushed in. I don't want it too deep where then it gets difficult to take out. But for cribbage pegs, if you get the right ones, 1/8 hole is all you need. So that's what I am using, and I think first try for once, yay, it worked. All right, so let's get started here. I try to put this peg back somewhere. I took it off of one and it belongs somewhere else, and I haven't taken a sip of my energy drink. Hold on. Okay, so hey, so let me stop for a sec. How's it going, the Carver? Things going well for you? I've seen people jump in and out. I am curious as to how this stream is right now. It's funny, on Studio it's showing an excellent connection, but when I look at my OBS, I'm dropping like 50% of my frames. So I don't know if when I move, if things are jumpy, you know, that's just me doing that, or what. So if you can let me know how the stream actually is, that'll be great. That may be why people are dropping off, because I am wireless from my computer here to my router, but I've never had issues before. And yeah, that is the Cardinals that you hear in the background, most likely. So let me get my piece out. So one of the things that I notice that when I do this is I think these bits are just slightly off in terms of you know, how straight they are. Because when I look, I see the bottom, you know, and again, I'm not sure if it's the twist or not that's making my eye go nuts. No, I guess, let's see. You know, and that's not even perfectly, holy, oh wait, you know, I need to check something here. I just discovered something. Is this, no, okay, so it's the piece of wood. You know, let me do this. I am going to grab my, my angle here. There it is, my engineer's angle. Oh, you know, I'm trying to pick things up and I just can't. My big, you know, this may work. Wait a sec. So, no, that's too big. Got a short end. Okay, that's all right. Whew. So one of the things, let me get that straight for you there, is always checking to make sure whether it's the saw, whether it's the drill press, whether it's your sanders and things like that. Let's see, maybe a slight blur every once in a while. Okay, that's not too bad. All right, and sometimes I wonder, you know, that's my not as good camera as the one that is down here. You know, that bothers me. I'm gonna switch cameras so at least you see that. Okay. That way, as I pick up pieces or whatever, you know, actually, oh, there it is. I don't know. It's just kind of irritating. I test these things out in the morning, but I had to reload the cameras and it went wonky. But anyway, let's get back to it. So, like I said, with the scroll saw, sanders, drill presses and everything, you want to make sure when you're, most of the time, unless you're tilting, you want it perfectly vertical So do your checks just like that. This is an engineer square, a small one. I don't remember how much it costs. It's not that much to do that, to buy one. I got it off of Amazon, of course. And yeah, so I think that that helps it get the confidence, because all of a sudden when I did that with the piece of wood, you know, oh yeah. So when I look at it this way, I don't know if you can see it. Probably not. Yeah, you can see a little bit of light at the bottom, and that kind of freaked me out because I thought that was a 90. Thankfully, it isn't. So let's get started. But anyway, as I was saying, I saw this wobble, and as I drilled, if I'm not careful on the initial, let me do this, because I'm doing this by eye. Let's do the first one here. So I want to make sure that I stay within this circle as best as possible. Where am I here? Where's that camera? Okay, wrong camera. So get that up there. There we go. You can see the hole first, and then the circle below that. And that's really critical when I get down to the runs here, because they are so close, and if you have one that's off, high or low, you can really see it. I did mess one up on my prototype, but you know, when you have the pegs in, it doesn't really matter, but still, you know, I'm trying to get this as close to perfect as possible. And I don't have the vacuum on right now. Do I have the light on? Yeah, I do. Okay. So my first initial is slow, so I can see where it's actually cutting, and then I can slide it just a little bit. And even if I put the laser on, I think the laser's off a little bit. I'm not sure. I don't know. That one looks pretty good. So if I put the laser cross here, close. I don't know. So you can see this is, you know, a slow, tedious way to do it. If I did this with Baltic birch, say 3mm, I could do the top layer and probably burn these through. But again, I do not like plywood. I think for what I'm doing, I am looking for quality. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad here. Let's get that close. There you go, getting there. Oh, let's see. Okay. Yeah, so you know, it is a little bit tedious, but you know, again, a lot of what we do by hand. Let me get my angle right here so I can see. You know, we're doing things by hand for a reason. You know, I see these on sale on Etsy. And there are a few people who are doing some quality hardwood pieces, very few. And they'll charge anywhere from, you know, $60 to $100 for these, depending on how they do the storage. And there's some beautiful pieces out there. let me get that vacuum on. Whoop. All right. Take a quick break there. Well, it looks like I don't have, oh, wait. So I'm not showing concurrent users. If you're doing the entire piece by hand, it should be done on a, yes, you're absolutely correct. You know, again, we're doing a laser etch for the game board itself, and then, you know, doing some cutout, but you know, it is all those fine little details that I think work. You know, again, I don't want to badmouth other people who do things, you know, but you look at some of the toys that are done with plywood or whatever, and it's like, you know, especially if you're selling it. But I know that we're competing in a way to the people who are using CNCs, for example, or industrial type lasers, 3D printing, and all that. You go to any farmer's market, craft market, you're seeing that. You see people, you know, I could find probably different type of game boards on Temu and get them for, you know, $5, $6, or somewhere else buy in bulk. You can do that. But what I'm trying to do, especially with the stuff that I'm giving away, is have it stand out, have it be unique, and you know, be something that will be heirloom quality and be able to last multiple lifetimes. So yeah, that is very important to do. So, you know, I could crank out some very simple wooden toys, and I do have some. I admit to that. Yeah, I just want this to stand out. And again, let me get this hole here. This is something that will not be given to an individual child, I think. But this is something that is more of a gift to, say, the floor. You know, say that it's the pediatric department or cancer department, and the kids there are, you know, 12, 13, 14 years old, or, oops, I missed one, 14 years old, and, you know, so then a whole bunch of them can get together and they can play the games together rather than just having their faces buried into a computer or phone or something like that. I'm sure that they have game, you know, what do you want to call it, a day room that has stuff, but the idea is to get kids interacting again. You know, I remember playing street hockey, kickball, stickball, football in the yard, basketball. All those things. I need a puffer on this. Just like on the scroll saw. Glad somebody agrees with me. All right, you're encouraging. I appreciate that. Yeah, there was one thing wrong with this design. They corrected that, and I just discovered another. One of the things that I would like to do, but it will increase. Wait a sec. That slipped a little. That one slipped a little. let me get these last two done and I'll show you. So one of the things that I want to do in the design, I could actually make this whole infield completely burned in. The same thing with the dugouts. There are supposed to be two lines going diagonally here and here. So yeah, they're not showing up, but that's okay. That doesn't matter much on that. The other thing that I may do in future is, this is, what is it, the Blue Jays and the Cardinals. I'm not a baseball person, so I don't really care that it's either. But what I'm just thinking of doing is just making, H and V for home and visitor, changing that out so it becomes more generic. The other thing that I might be able to do, maybe in the infield or outfield, I think that's the infield, that's the outfield. If it goes to a hospital, put the hospital name on it. Or I may do it on the back, is just etch the hospital name on the back that it goes to, or whatever, if it goes to a police department and they decide to use it at one of their community events or something like that to set up game boards. Who knows, if they have a game night or something like that. So yeah, there's little design issues that, as I'm looking at this intently, and it's like I'm focusing on a hole, or here it's like, oh yeah, that's missing, and I could spread these out a little bit more. I can do this, I can do that. There's a lot as you work through these, just like any toy that we make or any other item. We'll analyze it so that if we do decide to do another, the shadow is bothering me. Let me swing this light around here. Hopefully that's not going to be too, that makes it way too bright. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to eliminate some of the shadow. That's better actually. So I can see where the drill is. All right, so those are the easy ones, right there. Now we'll start with the scoring. Actually, let me clean the deck up a little bit here. One of the things that I try and do is be as clean as possible. And not have little buttons. Little buttons there. Okay. Because I didn't want it going on automatically. I had to change some settings. Alright, here we go. This is the long one. Yeah, that slid just a little bit. I'm not getting this to slide. It's sliding. Or I should say drifting. Yeah, that one drifted way off. I don't know if it was the grain sucking it in. Yeah, that's irritating. So if you take a look, let's see here. Let me get that real close. You can see the first two, closer to the drill press, are a little bit higher than the next two that I did. So they were drifting, or when I say drifting, it's the drill bit was drifting for some reason. Yeah, I tried doing pilots, and maybe I will. Let me take that suggestion right now. So here's my big awl. So let me do that. Let me do the next three, and actually, this is a very good idea. Thank you so much. I was thinking of doing pilots and all that. All right, I just did a few, so let me see how that is. Because, you should have, these are, the little point. Yeah, that might have done it. I'm not sure. Yeah, those are in line with the first two. All right, two more. I think I'm still drifting. Let's see. A little bit, but I think I'm going to do it a little bit. Let me get on the other side of that there. Let's see. That's out of focus. I have the light in the way, the light arm. So let's see. I don't have as much room. So yeah, I think if I go a little bit deeper with the awl, I think that's going to work. All right, deal. Hey, hey, Mrs. the Carver. Your husband has some really good ideas. So you wanna reward him, okay? So be really nice to the Carver, okay, Mrs. Carver. How is that? Do you like that? All right, let me. I'm laughing too much. Okay. So I'm gonna give it. Oh, yeah. See, I'm doing it by eye, but that's close. You're talking a hair, and that can multiply. Yeah, I'm off a little bit from dead center. Let's see, can you actually, yeah, I guess you can see what I'm doing. If my hands are not in the way. I'm not perfectly dead center. And again, I can feel the awl sliding a little bit as I push. And this is a really sharp awl. Let's see. And I think what it is, it's of course it's the grain. The grain's going to be pushing. Bless you, my child. There we go. Yeah, we got a good bunch of folk in the maker community, scroll saw community. Yeah, that slid. That's the thing about handmade items. They're not perfect. And that imperfection is what makes it unique. And when it comes to those imperfections, most of the times we are the only ones who see them. All right, let's see how that looks. You know, actually not that bad. Wait a second here. Let's see if I'm just trying to look. I mean, you're talking such a small variance. Let's see. Yeah, you can't see that. Let me see if I can anchor this. Yeah, that's going to be kind of tricky here. I'll tilt it up to the camera. Let's see, can you see that? I'm off. There we go. There we go. I think I got it. There we go. So you can see I am off by such a small amount. I mean, you're talking one, let me see. So those two, so two down. Yeah, I mean, each one is unique, but you're looking at maybe a point or two. So, you know, less than a millimeter off. So it's maybe even like gosh, if that's 3 millimeters. Yeah, I mean, this is half a millimeter, if that. Wabi-sabi is a Japanese phrase that means perfection is imperfection. Absolutely. And that is the uniqueness. I mean, again, you look at people's faces. First of all, we're not symmetrical because we lay on one side and mush one side of the face. If we had a perfectly left and right symmetrical, it would look weird. And that's how you can notice in AI and stuff like that when the AI does things like that. Let me I'm gonna pierce those in a moment. Let me clean up the deck again. You know, one of the things in keeping your work area clean as you're working is, you know, say that there was a big chunk of wood in here and you didn't realize it. What is it? And there was a big chunk of wood and it tilted it just a little bit. I mean, you can feel it on the scroll saw when you're sliding your piece around, and say that a very small sliver of wood that normally would pass through your blade hole is underneath, and you're working. It's like, you know, this is rocking a little bit. This just doesn't feel right. So that's why I'm always constantly cleaning my work area. Besides that, I'm really fastidious. I just don't like all the dust and crap around. So yeah, what was I going to do? Let me go and do this. And let's see if I can get these a little bit closer to center. Let me get some light so I can see. That's making it hard for you to see. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, you know, that's the that's live shows for you. Yeah, that. Try and get that so you can see. I'm basically working with half a screen. All right. See how I can do that logically. Yeah, see, that's center. It looked center, but yeah, I can feel the grain as I push. So that is always going to be a factor when you're doing things that close. Yeah, no, that was a great idea. Did you hear that, Mrs. Carver? Just checking. Oh, you know, maybe I'm debating about how far I should push that in to bring that bit in. Try to concentrate here. Let's see, just almost done there. I think you gave me a good idea, and I will run with this. Okay, yeah, that'll be what I'll finish up. Let me sit down for a moment and switch back to a single scroll saw. That's supposedly my scroll saw. Oh, now I have 4 concurrent users. Okay, yeah, we're coming into the kind of the end of the show right now. I'm going to keep on drilling, and then the next thing I'm going to do is for all this stuff here, I'm going to be mop sanding all the pieces here, and then I will, after mop sanding, do a little bit of fine sanding, you know, any of the defects. I do have to do a little barrel sanding on those, so that'll be rather quick. I may do that first. Then I'll cut out the axles and the peg axles, and that should do it. Once I get the wheels, the axles cut out and the wheels on and glued, I'll probably do that during John's show, because when I'm on John's show, I just sit there. Oh, hey, Di, welcome aboard. You know, I was just talking. Oh, you know, you do see the sunlight coming from my my window over here, unfortunately, on this. I don't know if I can shade that right now. But yeah, I'll be doing that. I'll be going on John's show if he's on today. Right now, I do have a gentleman building a shed in my backyard. And, you know, we've got some parts that'll be coming in tomorrow, so we won't be able to get the doors on. I was actually hoping that it would have been done by Friday, but you know, hey, that's life. And who else is here? Got 5 people. Wow, everybody. You know, I may have to start this show a little bit later or run it longer. I'll go back up to this. So for those who are just joining, I'm having a little bit of an issue with my camera. This is my split camera, and usually this camera here would be single and would just be the drill press. So I'm going to do that. We'll go back, drill a few more holes here in this piece. And just for those who are just joining, the carver gave me a great idea of using an awl to pre-poke my center holes, because I've been finding my 1/8 inch bit was drifting a little bit for all these holes here. And you know, when you're running something this number of holes so close to each other, any little defects will show in that. So let's get this going again, and I can stay on a little bit longer. Isn't that nice? Appreciate the folks from Wales, and just so that you know, Di Love Spoons Thomas has a show, and it's a little bit different. I know you used to do Mondays. If you can post when you're going to be doing your show this week, please do. I'd like to be able to promote you more. That's very important for us to do, is to promote one another. So definitely put your link in, put your website in, and all that stuff. I do not mind at all. But you're from Wales, and also I haven't seen him. Wait a sec. But we have some other folk from Wales, and that's kind of why I do this show early on Sundays, and so I can get the folk in Europe. Very important. But yeah. Appreciate you coming aboard, and as always, I tell people, check out my website, poppysworkshop.org, and I have a couple press releases. Wait a sec. That drifted a little bit. I have a couple press releases as to what happened this week, and I'm getting some ready. If I can get the hospital, the children's hospital, that will be wonderful. It's amazing the local need. You know, I was also thinking international, getting in contact with some organizations, NGOs, but the need locally is astounding. So I will need volunteers to cut out toys and stuff, glue up, if I get any bigger. Yeah, it's Archie has been very consistent in joining and supporting the show, the live stream. He's been able to learn some things and has been showing me some of what he's doing. Very, very interesting, some of the work that he does for disc golf for his living, his main project. And he's taking the lessons from the various scroll saw shows. There we go, last one. He's going to the different scroll saw shows and learning. So, yeah, just back from rugby. All right. So, just to give a filler for the folk who just came in, I'll show you the finished one in a minute. This is dice baseball, and this will be for older kids. Got the idea to find some, yeah, the half screen is bugging me, to find some plans for older kids, because most of the toys I do are for younger. So let me bring out again two of the finished items. Oh, and Di, while you're here, I have to show you my love spoon that I'm working on. I don't do the quality that you do, but you know, it is what it is. Where's that camera? Here we go. Okay, so this is one of those designs that are out there. Yep. So here it is, and this came from. Actually, let me bring it to this camera here. Yeah, I'm going to bring it to the lower camera here. So this came from 3/4 inch walnut. I can bring the host out. And basically I took about 1/4 inch off the back to create the deep spoon. And then you can see how thin I went here. So yeah, that's coming into the fine sanding, and then I will put it in the linseed oil to get that chocolatey look there. Oh yeah, here's the, yeah, here it is. Here's the host. So yeah, you can see how thick that sucker is. Most of the times I'll go with 1/2 inch. That's what I have. So there you go. And then this came from, I'm going to sit down, my legs are hurting. This came from other toys that I had cut out. That's why it's 3/4 inch. Probably it might have been this toy over here, or actually no, that wouldn't be that one. It would most likely be these here are my tractors. And you know, let me do this. I'm going to switch back to the full screen for this. That makes much better sense. Okay, this works a whole lot better. So yeah, I do love working with walnut. Just the finish, but the way it cuts, the way it sands, the way that I can router it and everything like that, it's just so nice. It carves beautifully. I am really liking mahogany, so let me show you this, the finished prototype. So here is a finished prototype using mahogany that has a gel polyurethane finish on it, and then the cribbage pegs. And here are the natural wood dice for that game. And it just finishes beautifully. I was debating, it's so much lighter the natural mahogany. So here's unfinished, and with the laser etching, it stands out more. But finger stains, fingerprints, and all that stuff. And this was the other thing out of some waste wood that I have. This will be for the wall of my cubicle. We use a piece of paper right now on this, and you're putting push pins in, and you have all these little holes. It does not look classy at all. So I had a little bit of waste wood and said, I took the laser out for the first time since the summer of last year, and hey, why not? Let's go for it. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And then what I will be lasering on the back of my bigger pieces, like the ones, the baseball, is, got to go this way, is here's my logo, and I'm just going to add a gift from at the top on my next. So I went from this as my first test, and you can see I've tested other things over here. This is just birch, and finally came to that where I think the size and everything is acceptable for the larger pieces, and I don't lose the lettering and everything like that. So yeah, that is some of it there. And then again, all this, I was telling the carver, he was one of the early birds. I don't know if you saw this. This was the sandwich wood that I did, gluing the birch and 1/8 inch walnut. I'm sorry, 1/4 inch walnut. So 1/2 inch, quarter, and doing that. And this reminds me of my childhood. Not the rattle, but it looks like an ice cream sandwich. So here's the vanilla ice cream with the 2 chocolate cookies, and let me tell you, when that goes in the in for the finish in the linseed oil, and it goes to the real chocolatey color, dark, I think some kids may want, I'm going to eat that. So yeah, that's what's happening there. So let's see what else is going on before I close out the show. Do remember that I am here every Sunday, 9:30 Eastern Time. And do check out my, I call it para charity. It's basically working alongside other types of charities or organizations. Like last week was police department in another hospital. And if I can get into the children's hospital, that'll be great. So I come alongside, and that's my goal. And we'll see. Oh, one other thing, I am going to try and do this. Here is my prototype of another game. I don't think kids are really going to dig this unless they're into golf. This is one of the prototype dice golf games that I did on Baltic birch plywood. That's usually where I prototype first. And I actually have a gentleman who used to work for me when I was with the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and he saw me post something that I was working on a prototype. He says, hey, think of me. So, that may be one of the gifts that I give to some of the donors, because depending on the amount of donation, I do give a gift. Usually it's one of the toys or something special, but being that I can put that on the laser, let it engrave, and the actual shaping and everything doesn't take too long, other than for the drilling of the holes. It's not bad at all. So, I've got to think how to fund this charity, this para charity, to be able to keep doing things. When you think about it, the amount of wood, and I'm using, here is mahogany, there's walnut, there is canary wood, here is, I think that's quarter sawn saw, oak, and I do have white oak, I do have red oak. Those are usually the woods that I like to use that are going to last a lifetime. So hey, Nancy, welcome. Just kind of yakking towards the end of the show right now. I was doing a whole bunch of drilling up on the drill press. That's what it is. So just kind of talking through this and looking at the comments for everybody, and she had more time to make toys yourself. Yeah, you know, when you think about it, these are actually very easy to make, and I don't have the plans here, but if you look at a couple videos back, I think I showed plans of my toys. So again, I'm toy oriented, but within the waist area, I had all kinds of love spoon designs in the waist area. So you could actually do the opposite. So say you have some wood and you have some waist area, throw a toy in there. You know, so you may only be doing one toy at a time, but you know, that's kind of the way that I try and be efficient and reduce the waste, because, you know, I look at this and it's like, man, that is a lot of waste. You know, that's a lot of wasted wood, and I've got to figure out how I'm going to use that. So there's an idea for you. See what it is. And hey, Nancy, make sure you check out Die Love Spoons. He has a live show every week during, you know, I think most of the time you're around 11:30. But yeah, when are you doing it this week? It's an enjoyable show. You learn an awful lot. A lot of what I do here is because of Love Spoons, to be quite honest. I watch what he does and say, take that little thing that he does and kind of make it my own. I don't know. But yeah, so, you know, try and do that, because you do such beautiful work, and if you add even just a little bit of your carving in it, it will take it to the next level. A spinning toy top where the ice cream sandwich piece holds a string. Yeah, that is one idea. So here, I didn't show this. So here is my helicopter. My wheels are dry fit right now, and I still have to do the blade. But let me get closer to the camera. Watch the little man there as whoop, my hand got in the way. Darn it. All right, so let me spin the blade, and I'll do this. See? It's all dry fit right now, but as the blade spins, the little man spins. So yeah, that's one. And it's funny that you mentioned that top. I don't think I have it anymore, but I was in Taiwan working with the army there for, I'd go in weeks at a time. I did that for a number of years, but I took a vacation out there just to finally enjoy the place. And we went to this area, and they had, you know, they had food, of course, but they had some crafters, and there was this guy that had this top, and the thing that he could do with it, with the tricks and everything, was amazing. So I bought one. It was, I think it might have been a 100, what do they call it? It's Taiwan dollars, TD, I forgot the symbol for it, but it was 100 Taiwan dollars, which was, at the time, $3. So I've got to see if I can find that, but I think when I cleaned up my room, all right, Nancy, you subscribe to Die, and that's, make sure you check out his show. Make sure you check that bell for him. So yeah, I think if you do those tops, and again, you can do it out of the waste wood. You know, speaking of waste wood, here's some pine. I mentioned that I currently have a shed being built in my backyard. Because my old shed is probably 25 plus years old. It was here before I bought the house. It's a tin shed. It's leaky, falling apart, rotting. It's just, it can't be fixed. So I'm actually surprised at how little waste wood this gentleman has produced. You know, this was from the back wall, I would assume, because it is going to be a salt box shape. So this can, you know, look, here, I have to make the toy a little bit smaller, but, you know, I'm going to take that waste wood and I'm going to make some toys out of it. I think I can fit a tractor. Let's see. I know I can do that if I need to. I can do those little cars. Let's see, my tractor. And this is something, yeah, here we go. You know, so I can do a tractor quite easily from that. So here's an idea. If for scrollers, you see some construction site or something, hey, go up to the guys and say, hey, I can take away some of your waste wood if you like, and hopefully they'll say yes. I know there's liability and all that stuff. Or if you're driving around and you see some people throwing stuff out, there's a lot of really good waste wood out there. You know, yeah. Let's see his time. Yeah, make sure you post it. Make sure you post it. But usually it's late morning. I know it was like 11:30 this week, Eastern time, that he started his stream, because I'm at work at the time, and I try and take my lunch at that time so I can at least listen in while he's doing his live, which usually runs about an hour like mine-ish, to an hour and a half. So it's a really nice thing. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to do wood and keep the price to zero. I do know he has some of the remaining particle board plywood out there, small pieces, and I always like the 1/8 to 1/4 inch because I use them as a drill backing on my drill press. So let me find. You're gonna love this. Oops, yeah, that fell. So there you go. I think this one has seen better days. Yeah, let's see. 2:30 UK time. Yeah, so that depending, I think you're right now 6 hours difference from the East Coast, if I remember correctly. I think you change your clocks at the end of this month, so in another 2 weeks. But yeah, so you see plywood out there now. For example, I just got a new scroll saw. I got the 30-inch Pegasus, and in the box came, it looks to be about 18 inches by 36 inches piece of plywood. It's all banged up, it's got holes in it, it's got some cracks in different areas, but I'm going to cut it down to 1x1 pieces, or maybe the size, well, not quite the size of my deck, but 1x1 usually works, 2x1. And I will rip those into those sizes so that I can use it on the backing for my drill press. So, as much as possible, just trying to reduce not only my waste, but take advantage of other people's waste. Oh, yeah, I don't think people have seen this. So I was talking about logos. This is my personal logo when I do things. So when I do my Intarsia and some of the other artwork, and then I'm currently working on my Poppy's Workshop logo that will be laser etched, laser engraved into my larger pieces. So yeah, I think that kind of covers it. Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, that's why I'm I'm still talking. It's like I was ready to shut down like 30 minutes ago because I was down to 1 and I see none on the concurrent, and then all of a sudden people are coming in. It's like, man. So I've got to think. Maybe let me put it to you folk. I start at 9:30 on Sundays. Now, I could just go for an hour and a half, 2 hours, or, kind of shift everything maybe by an hour because everybody started coming in towards the 11 o'clock hour. Let me know what's convenient for you. I just did this because I was thinking, well, it's 9:30. Some people are just getting ready on the East Coast, and others are sleeping on the West. If I make it too late, because I'd like to be able to join other shows too. But yeah, subscriber number. Okay. I was looking at the concurrent viewers, but yeah, I'll check that after. But yeah, I notice it's jumped up. Here's an interesting thing, and I know you have shorts, and I'm not sure about you, Nancy, but what I found, I did 3 shorts this week just to see what happens. Now, usually my videos, whether they're 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm getting 30, 40 views or something like that. Now, all of a sudden, I put 3 shorts out, and, they're under 1 minute, and I'm getting 700 plus views in like 2 days. I'm like, holy moly. So I think I need to supplement what I'm doing to bring in more people. Oh yeah, it depends on what time rugby finishes for you. Um, yeah, I understand that. You know, my daughters are all grown up now, and you know, I have my grandson, but he's a little bit young for those activities. But it was ballet for me. You know, this is why I still wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I used to wake up at 2 on Mondays, and I would work from like 3 to 11 at my work since I worked IT, and then I would leave, go home, catch about an hour or two of sleep, do some other stuff, and then I would have to drive an hour with my daughters to classical Russian ballet. And that would last 2.5 hours, and then the hour drive back. They also did Celtic dancing. My daughters did hard and soft shoe Celtic from, I think they started when their ankles were stronger when they were 6, 7, 8 years old, and they did it till they were 16, 17 years old. At another studio, they did other type. Yeah, I know the shorts, they come and go, but they're so easy to make. You know, and the idea is to get things, get the right topics and everything like that. So whether you can do a how-to, like I think I did something about the chuck this morning. I'll post it later today. I did something on lasering out my, you know, as this was lasering, showing that I was doing a prototype. Those different type of things. I will definitely do that. But yeah, it's always fun, and I love seeing the folks. You know, let's see, the same real bio up on TT. Up on TT. It's the same Reels bio up on TT. You have to explain that one to me, Nancy. All right, well, Carver, thank you so much for sticking with me this morning. So yeah, you need to grind out some videos. I'm sure Nancy is going to be doing things. And Nancy, you got to get back on John's show when I'm there, because Nancy's mad at me. I know Nancy's mad at me because I kept harassing her, saying, Nancy, you got to come on, you got to come on, you got to come on John's show, because he has, you know, 4, 5, 6 people on at the same time. And finally she comes on, and I'm like, well, I got to leave, folks, and she won't talk to me no more. Only kidding, Nancy. But yeah, actually, I think I did that. I forgot. I think it was Art. Art had just come on yesterday, and it was coming close to dinner, and I had to bag off. And I kind of felt bad because I was like, "Where's Art? Where's Art?" So yeah, this is a great community. I love how we all support one another. And again, you know, Nancy, the Carver, Di. That would be, what is it? What If I Could, is John. So yeah, I think you've been on that. You've been in the chat of What If I Could. It's his daily scrolls, and I think he's on sometimes twice a day, and everything like that. Kind of afternoon, because he's way out west in the tundra in Canada. So he's got snow, and I've got my garage door open. But yeah, that's kind of cool there. And you know, let me do this. Inset with scroll saw. There we go. Hi, folk. I forgot to do that. You could actually see me as I talk and do things. Yeah, there you go. What if I could? John C. Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate it. Kind of helping out there. But yeah, so I just started once in a while putting me up there. Where am I here? Let's see, get my finger there. Point to, there I am, right there. See, here I am. Yeah, I'm a little bit goofy this time of the morning. You know, just kind of unwinding from the week, getting ready to go into work. You know, because again, I wake up at 3 in the morning. I was out here in the shop puttering around, I think about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, during the work, I'm at work at 5. Try and get out early. Yeah, there you go. I thought I saw you in the live chat for him. He's another one that give some great, great advice. For example, one of the issues, and you might be able to see just a little bit right there. All right, so you see a little scorch mark. I haven't quite gotten out yet, but that's from the Franken router. So these type of toys I put on the router, and I'll router both sides, I'll router inside, so it gives it a nice profile for handling. Because you don't want sharp edges for the little kids. It's very uncomfortable for them, especially, little ones are going to put this in their mouth. So what was happening on some of the woods, or a lot of the woods, because you got 30,000 RPM spinning, and I'm guiding it through, trying to be careful not to cut my fingers off, I was scorching the wood. And these I actually scorched a lot. But he suggested, hey, why don't you put some wax on it? And I'm like, shh. What a smart idea. So I wound up, hey, I'm by the ocean front of Virginia Beach, and we are the East Coast capital of surfing. So what did I do? I wound up getting surfboard wax, and I would take my piece that I'm going to put on the Franken router and just wax the edges and just both sides. And that has reduced my scorching by a lot. So, if you're going to be routering some of your pieces, especially cherry is very prone to scorching. If you're going to router it, definitely try using some form of paraffin wax. Again, I forgot the type that he had recommended, but I'm using I think it's the harder surfboard wax. Apparently they have different, they have hard, they have soft, depending on how hot and cold the water is. So that's really cool. So doing that, and then I also tried it on my blade, on my scroll saw. So if you're doing cherry, you may want to try waxing your blade a little bit. You may have to do it frequently because it comes off pretty quick. Especially, not just cherry, but when you think of bloodwood, when you think of purple heart, those are very, very hard woods, and they're prone to scorching. So, if it's not too super long, you find that you're scorching on the turns. What you can do is just stop and wax your blade a little bit and go through. Because let me tell you something. People tell you that when you add tape, when you add shelf liner and things like that to put your pattern on when you're scroll sawing, they say, oh, that helps lubricate the blade. That's a lie from the devil. Get behind me, Satan. That's really a lie. It has adhesive. That's what sticks to the blade and everything like that. If it does any lubrication, it is so minimal, if any at all. So do keep that in mind. You're going to hear a lot of lore. I learned that about that when I did ancestry of my family. I found the crazy uncle. There were all sorts of stories about him. I call him the crazy uncle, crazy second uncle, be my grandfather's older brother. They would say, yeah, he died in a car crash, he did this, he did that, and it was all lies. And I discovered that by reading newspapers from 100 years ago, getting a hold of the Moscow papers. These were French archive papers held by the Soviets for ages. Let's see, let me look at the card. I used to be in the Dam Neck area. Oh, okay, the Dam Neck area. When you were in the Navy, yeah, it was blowing up then. And that was 20 years ago, so you missed me by 5 years. I've been out here 15. It is massive. It has changed so much in the 15, let alone the 20. If you were in Dam Neck area, then you were at Oceana. I am just outside of the big base of Norfolk Naval. I'm on a smaller base, NSA, where NATO is located. So that's, you have the F-18s out there. Here we have everything else at the big base, I forgot how many carriers and everything like that. So yeah, you know the area for sure, Carver. But anyway, back on the waxing and everything and the lore. And as I said, what I discovered in my year search, I was translating French documents. I was translating Hungarian because that part of the family is Hungarian. It's probably irritating just seeing my finger. I can do this. Wait a second. I keep forgetting. There we go. I was, doing this research and translating, and being at NATO is really very, very helpful. I work with a number of Hungarian officers, but one sits right next to me in another cubicle. So I would do rough translations, and he would help me. I say, yep, nope, because one was like, I remember specifically, now comes the black soup, is what my translation was. He says, he said, that's kind of slang, now comes the problems, now comes the bad part of the story. So he helped me. But all that to say, family lore is just like scroll saw or maker lore. We will say things and repeat things, and those things become the truth. And in this aspect, putting liner down, putting tape down lubricates your blade is a falsehood that we are perpetuating. So be aware that when somebody says, oh, you need to do this because of blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's one of those things like what Ronald Reagan said with the Soviets is trust but verify. So we will do the same thing. I found it really doesn't lubricate. I would be doing my cherry. I would be doing my bloodwoods or my purple hearts, and I would still be scorching like crazy and adjusting my technique to reduce it. So, yeah, and it's like, this is not doing what they say. Then I started again what was recommended by John. It's like, well, it's logical. It kind of makes sense. Let me give it a whirl and see if in fact it works. So, for a couple bucks, I buy the surfboard wax, waxed up the edge of my toy, and boom, hey, it reduced. It didn't eliminate, but it reduced what was happening with the scorching. So my mind says, hey, let's see what happens out on the scroll saw. And, the wax wears off really, really quickly. And of course, unlike when I take a toy and I'm able to just go all the way around the entire perimeter and inside and wax it all so that as I'm routing, it's hitting the new wax. It's like, okay, yeah, so here's a little scorch right there. And I had a lot around, especially inside, because, I'm steering this and I've got this 30,000 RPM bit, and it's like, keep the fingers away. So I slow way down, and I'll learn better technique on it to prevent that. But, will it work on the scroll saw? I think minimally, because again, you're cutting a piece of wood here, and you're going to wax the blade, and maybe that wax will wear off every half inch, 2 inches. I don't know. But what I would say is if you're getting to a sharp turn and you're on, again, the hard scorchy woods, stop, wax it, and at least be able to get through that turn. Oh, I got to make another turn. Sure, it slows you down, but these are the trade-offs that you have to look at. Is it worthwhile doing it or not, or should I adjust my technique? That's the thing you got to look at. I'm trying to look for my other piece here. Oh, and just so that you know, it's funny. John had made mention that he cannot, for the life of him, cut a straight line when he's using a flat blade. Where he is, I think he's pretty much 100%. I think it's Penguin, zeros or ones, spiral blades that he uses, and he can cut straight lines. Well, this here is other than for having the stencil, is freehand. There was no sanding or anything like that. When you look at this here, So you're looking at what? I think it's 7 or 8 inches. That was freehand with I think I used a number 7 blade is what I used for that, for cutting that out. Now the bottom was, just, I didn't have to cut the bottom. So I basically, cut the long top and the sides, and let's see, don't have my big one there. So you can see how straight my freehand lines are. And that comes not from practice. And you're going to hear me say this a lot. Practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So, when I first started out scroll sawing and everything, and had these long straight lines, and it's like, okay, do I want to put that on the table saw? And that has its issues, but it's like, no, I've got to learn to do straight lines. And that's the same thing, this here. This outline, let me get that, for this piece that I just did this week, this is 100% freehand against the stencil. And you can see there are many, many straight lines along with curves. And, that's learning what the blade does in terms of size, in terms of the wood that you're using, all those things, you work with it and you learn where to look. You learn when to stop to see how the blade is still moving or anything like that. So remember, when you're practicing, you want to make sure you practice perfectly so that you are not, exacerbating the bad habits. I always use this when I was training defensive or combat handgun. They would say, oh yeah, practice, practice, practice. No, perfect practice, perfect. When you draw, you want to make sure that the movement is always the same. It's the same thing when you're working is, you want to use the same type of pressure, and I use that loosely, how you move, how you look. That just comes from time. That comes from repetition, 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 but the good habits. Yeah, there you go. Same with your paper trimmer. You know where to set the cut in the right place. And again, yeah, with anything, you learn not only what the tool will do, but what the medium. So, and I'll use that because Nancy does so many different mediums. It's crazy. Yeah, so it's crazy, watching her do some of the stuff that she does. And, I'm sure that she explains it as she goes through her live shows and videos. And again, everybody can learn from one another with that. Let's see, what else can I yak about? I'm getting hungry. This is actually my lunchtime right now. Again, waking up at 3 in the morning, everything is shifted. So it's kind of crazy how that is. You figure I go in the office, it's dark. I finally come out early afternoon, and it's the first time generally that I see light other than what's coming through the office window. But to get out and, feel the sun and everything, I used to have a great suntan. Now I don't. I've got to get out in the sun more and kind of go from there. But yeah, I think that that pretty much covers it. Again, check out poppysworkshop.org. Appreciate everybody coming out and, checking out what I have to say and do. I know I mentioned this before. If you looked at, I said in the beginning of the video, the clickbaity video I put out yesterday, no more scroll saw. Yeah, no more scroll saw for me until I finish all those toys. They've been sitting. I've got so many projects that I've got to finish that I said I got to stay off the scroll saw until I finish this stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. I do have a couple, oh, rub it in, Nancy, rub it in. Now I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you, Nancy. I'm not talking to you no more. She's got color on her back. Shame on you. We've had cold weather here. This week was warm. We finally touched the 70s. I know in the next couple weeks we'll be in good suntan pool weather. But yeah, thank you, Nancy, for rubbing it in. So I just lost my thought. Oh no, what the heck was I talking about? Oh, good heavens. Oh yeah, no more scroll saw. So, like I've got so many plans, so many patterns that I want to cut out. And it's enjoyable for me. I put my noise canceling headphones on and I've had these. Look at these. Look how beat up these are. All right. These cost me $300. All right. These are made out of all metal. All right. Cost me $300. I've had them for over 10 years. And the story behind it, why I spent $300, is I had another pair of noise canceling headphones like this. And, these are the ones that have the cups that go over the ear, inside, the ear. So it seals out really nice. I used to travel a lot. I mentioned working for the Army in Taiwan. I did that for other countries, traveling to Germany, Guam. I was supposed to go to the Middle East, Korea. And you're talking like to Taiwan, it's 40 hours of travel. Yeah, waiting to start until I finish the ones that are on my desk. Yeah, absolutely, Nancy. Well, but I had to force myself. I've got this brand new, 1 week old, 30-inch Pegasus. Beautiful, beautiful saw. I love the way it cuts. Addicting. And it's like, nope, I got to stay off of it till I finish that over there. So anyway, I lost my thought again. Stop it, Nancy. You're making me lose my thought here. Anyway, I have, for example, I'm thinking Memorial Day will be coming up. And I'm going to do a stack cut of, the military memorial with the helmet, rifle, boots, and dog tags. That's the traditional for a soldier lost in action. And, I may make those available at NATO. So I plan on doing probably a triple, or because it's going to be thin wood. Now I'm mad at you. A new scroll. Yeah, now we're even. Oh yeah. I did take my laser out too, so you saw me doing. I got the lasering and everything to do the engraving, and I use that to enhance what I'm doing. I'm still going to use the hardwoods and everything like you saw with the baseball. So I just use it for engraving. But yeah, I've got this beautiful design, and I've already got in my mind how I'm going to finish it with the rattle can, with the colors and everything. And if I make 2 or 3 of those available to raise funds for Poppy's workshop, and be able to get more toys out to kids and everything, perfect. So, Memorial Day, it's still a little ways away, but that's the next project on deck. But I've got to get those done first. So there we go. Laser 2 tools I want. Yeah, I bought an inexpensive one. I think they said it was 20 watt, but I think when I really look at the specs for these LED lasers, and it was under 300. I think I got it off of Amazon, and it was 200 or so. I think that's what it was. Because I figured, let me see if I like it, blah, 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 blah. And then, maybe later on I'll get something, I forgot what they call it. It's a gas type laser, and man, they can burn through, 1/2-inch wood. I don't know what I would use it for, because then you're kind of cheating. Again, I scroll saw, I want to do hand work and just use the laser engraving for enhancement only, again, putting the, the board games and things like that, etching names or what have you, would definitely do that. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But this serves a purpose, but I think it's really only 5 watts true output. But again, it serves what I need to do. It's slow, so that's probably the only reason that I would go to a gas style laser, or higher wattage, is I have it set to 10. I mean, really slow. So, for example, doing a fill, and this came out ugly on my test, that took 30 minutes. Doing a line, that took just under 10 minutes. So, yeah, whereas with this particular piece, I think, believe it or not, because if you look at my name and the NATO logo, this took just over 30 minutes because of that fill, doing my name and the dark part. And looking at this, what I would really love to be able to do is the infield, or maybe the outfield, I would want dark. I would want that all filled. The dugout, I would like to have all filled. So there's certain things that I'd like to do that I think a more powerful laser will serve my purpose. And again, for example, if folk at NATO in my office say, hey, a whole bunch of us will get together, we'll buy them from you, and I can lay out 6 or 8 of them, have that lasered out in an hour, and then I can take it to my scroll saw and the Franken router, and then just sand it, finish it, and be done, and not put more than an hour in it. And I can raise funds for my para charity. That's something to consider. I've got to balance it out, because I've mentioned it earlier. I do offer gifts for people who donate a certain amount. And it's actually funny, is a lot of the people who have donated, I said, hey, I'm going to do something, blah blah blah. I'm like, no, don't worry about it. This is what I want to do. But I have that option of doing that, and yeah, I think that's it, man. I've been yakking. I've already done the drilling and everything, and I've been at this for almost 2 hours. This is the longest one that I've done. This is the most that I've had people coming on, and now I'm looking. My drop frames are down to 22%, and everything is green. So my signal has actually improved over the last hour. I'm glad for that. So during my yak time, it's actually worked out very, very well. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I got to go see if my carpenter is here, finishing up my shed. And no, I'm not putting my workshop out there. Man, this is only an 8x12 that I'm putting out there to replace my old, I think it's 10x16 tin shed. That's 30 years old. I've been here 10 in this house. The leaky shed, ruining things. And I know John made mention of it yesterday when I was talking about the shed. Move your workshop out there. And, I'm in a big garage. It's actually 1 3/4, 1.5 car garage. I still put my convertible in during the week, since I don't drive it that much. But I have plenty of storage all the way around. I've got big shelves and everything. I'm putting everything of mine on wheels, so I can move my new 30-inch Pegasus Nancy into place. So here I'm in a semicircle. So I'll have my little drill press. I'll have my little belt and disc sander. I would then at probably the 1, 2 o'clock have my scroll saw. Here's my camera and computer setup. Move to my workbench, and then my big drill press. Though I do have to walk around to get to my Franken router and my soft barrel sander that I use for intarsi and other things. But most of my tools I just spin. And then when I'm done for the evening, for the week or whatever, like, well, actually, I've had my car out for the entire week since the weather has been nice. I can pull everything in and fit everything. I know, Nancy, I love you. I love teasing you, sister. I don't get to talk to my own sister enough to give her a hard time. I call her my evil sister. There's reasons behind it. She's a great person. You know, I call her my evil sister because she's so good. And, you know, the situation where she was just giving her all and was mistreated. And it's like, well, that's because you're evil. Yeah, you know, yeah, I did this, and this, and this, and I went here and did that. Yeah. Oh, you're terrible. You're terrible. You know, because the person just didn't appreciate it, which is sad. So I call her my evil sister. And I do have my sister at work, Renee, brilliant woman. She was a math professor. She's in the military still, in the reserves now, Navy. She's a commander. She was at Hampton University, what do they call it, historically black university, as a professor there. But she got tired of the students and said, I can make more money doing this. But PhD in math, brilliant. I talked to her about cars, and she said, oh yeah, I'd fix about. I'm like, oh my gosh, you fix cars? And she does everything. And it's like, but I tease her. She was the one that took the toys to the Hampton Police Department. So when I got the thank you from the sergeant, I emailed Renee, and she used to work on my deck, on my floor. And I said, Renee, I just got the thank you. Oh man, I just want you to know I really appreciate you. And then after I wrote, but remember, not that much. So I always have to give her, and a smiley. I have to give her a hard time. So I do that to you too, Nancy. So we do that in love. Though I've never met you personally, I think as makers we stick together and we can help one another. We can make a better community. I think John is a great example of doing that. You look at what Die Love Spoons is doing. Thomas, I love hearing Thomas, seeing his hands working. Because you have two generations there. Then when the kids, the grandchildren come in and you hear them, again, they're in Wales. And it's like, yes, it's just, this is the way it's supposed to be. That's what I grew up with. If you go to my website, on the right-hand side, I think it says other information. You'll see the dedication. And the top dedication is to my grandfather. And some people wonder, why am I called Poppy? All right, because I just became a grandfather a year ago. And I've told this story, but a lot of people might not have heard it. Poppy was what I called my mother's father, so my grandfather, my maternal grandfather. That side of the family immigrated in I'm trying to remember because they came at different times, and some of the later generations came later. It's kind of funny. So call it late 1800s to 1900s is when the Italian part of my family, maternal side, came from Palermo, from the island just off of Italy. The Boot. This would be one of the hills, and of course you have what's the little begins with an S. Sardinia is off the Boot as well, but we're the big heel, for lack of a better term, in Palermo. Family came over. They were basically subsistence farmers and craftsmen, carpenters, whatever you want to call it, and they came in through New York City. So I found all that information. But anyway, the grandfathers were known as Poppy, Poppy. And I'm sure that was in America, I don't want to use the term bastardization, but a variation of Poppy, Poppi or Poppi in Italian or whatever. There's always those variations of what was the native language of Italy, or I have the paternal side is Hungary, and came down that way. And the names, the spelling, or whatever pronunciations change. So that mantle passed down to me, of course. And of course, my uncle, who would be my mother's brother, he's 90, 91 now. He is Poppy Ron. Poppy Ronnie is what his grandchildren call him. So anyway, being that I have one grandson right now, and they're going to hopefully try for another, I want to have that same thing that I see happening with Dye Love Spoons, is here you have two generations working side by side. Growing up, my Poppy taught me painting. We would sit side by side, and I would be doing paint by numbers, but instead of it being a clown, I got to find it. I think I still have it, 50 plus years later, on this little board, just like this. It was, I think, paint by numbers. It was supposed to be a clown, and I made it into a hobo. And I used to work with him on that. He taught me how to swing a hammer. His trade, his craft, was furniture making, but mainly as an upholsterer. If you look at his tongue, it was all scarred because he would take a handful of upholstery tacks, and then with the magnetic hammer, before we had these stupid automatic staplers and guns. So we would work side by side, and he's the one that taught me the patience, the craft, and everything like that. So there's a dedication to him on my website under the dedication section, but underneath that, there's two men that are there. They were high school teachers of mine that I had for the entire 4 years. One was my wood shop teacher. One was my drafting, architecture, and design teacher. So a short dedication to them. They taught me different things. But my woodworking journey started in 7th grade, and I wish I could find more information. I believe his name was Mr. Jackson. The first thing, I never forget this, two things. The first thing that he had us do, he said, before you can touch these power tools, before you can swing a hammer, before you can do this, take this. And it was a hand planer. And I have an old-fashioned one in my wood toolbox over there. I'll have to show that to you one day. And he put in the big wood vise, similar to what I have here, a piece of thick wood, and he took out his angle and just drew a line. And he said, hit that line. And we would have to go, and if we messed up, he'd make another one. He'd make another one. He'd make another one. That's where the practice, the perfect practice, came from. So we did that. And we did that. And that's how he trained us to be patient, to be accurate, to learn how to use a basic hand tool. And I'll tell you the one in drafting too. So we did that. And then we were able to advance into the different tools. So that was something, again, you're talking 7th grade. I would have been 12 years old. I turned 60. Dang, 50 years ago. I still remember that. The other thing I remember is usually about 5 or 10 minutes before the end of class was cleanup. That shop was spick and span. You put everything cleaned up back to where it's supposed to go. Everything went into the, the big vacuum that you broomed up. The system was outside. It was a big 2-story tower, big, and keeping the shop clean. And that's why, people make fun of me. I keep my shop pretty clean. So let's go to my drafting instructor, Mr. Rebello, and I actually graduated with his daughter, and I pointed out my dedication to him. One of the things that he did in our freshman year is we were not allowed to ink our drawings in the beginning. We had to, of course, use a mechanical pencil. And the first ones, if I remember, we had to sharpen our pencils. Then we went to a mechanical pencil. Then when we went to inking, we did not use, I didn't know the name of it. Rapidograph pen is one of the brands, but an inking pen, you have the little cartridge that you slip in, and you have the different thickness pens, and you grab them and you do it. No, we had the old, here is the dropper, go into the ink well, and then you had the nib, put a little ink in there, adjust the screw, and then draw your lines, or you have one that is attached to a compass. So that's how we learned our inking until we got it perfect. So again, perfect practice. makes perfect. So we did that, but now fast forward 3 years, and I'm interviewing at Raytheon Data Systems. And here I am, 17 years old, and I'm interviewing at Raytheon Data Systems in Massachusetts in their education center as a technical illustrator. 17 years old. So I bring my portfolio in, and I have all my inkings of all the architecture that I've done, because starting, let's see, it was drafting, architecture, design, the years. And actually the design class he invented for me, because I wasn't supposed to have a classes. But, I want to bring in design. He says, you're going to be my guinea pig. And I wound up getting credit for it, helping him design a design class. Cool. But anyway, I'm in this interview, and I'm showing him the drafting. I'm showing him all these assignments and everything. And this guy said, man, your inkings are beautiful. He says, now you use a rapidograph pen. And my face goes, a what, sir? An inking pen? A rapidograph pen? I'm like, what are those? And he's looking at me like, who is this idiot? I'm about to kick him out. And he looks at me and he says, well, Richard, how did you do those? I said, oh. And I pull out my little personal kit, so it's a little box, think about this big. It holds one pen, the nib, and one compass pen, and an eyedropper. And I said, with this. And he looks, and his jaw just, he's like, are you serious? I said, yes, sir. He's like, if you did that, looking at my illustrations, my inkings, if you did that with that, he said, you will have no problem with inking pens. He said, you're hired. So that was the funny thing. Let me see what Nancy has to say here. Nancy had a set of rapidograph pens when I worked in an engineering company. There you go. When we did the drawings by hand, before computers, exactly. And here's the funny thing, Nancy. Fast forward a couple more years. I'm in college, and Raytheon Data Systems wanted me to stay. I was graduating high school, and they wanted to bring me on full-time because I only worked 19 and a half hours a week, because I kept it within certain legalities and everything back then. That would have been 1979 that happened. They wanted to bring me in full-time. I was able to work full-time during the summer. So 1980, they're like, hey, we want to bring you on full-time. I'm like, we'll be going to university. I'm going for computer science. I'm going for, my minor is going to be graphics for instructional media. I want to do this. So I left. Well, I think it was my sophomore year. It's like, I'm not really liking college that much. I think I need to take a year off or something. Yeah, that always works. And then I started applying for other jobs. And I think it might have been Raytheon missile systems, because data systems, it might have actually been longer than that, longer than a few years. I might have left college because I went back later on. I didn't graduate the first. I went for 2 years and then dropped out and then went back. And then now I have multiple degrees of all things. But sometimes it's all timing. But anyway, I remember going back for an interview, and same thing. I had more hand inkings and everything like that, and first question out of his mouth was, what's your experience in CAD? And I'm like, I don't know CAD. I do everything by hand. And I know this is before I got married at 25, and he's like, no. He says, your work is absolutely gorgeous, but you're a dinosaur. And that's the comment that I was going to make to you, Nancy, when you said before computers, is CAD was just taking off like wildfire. And, personal computers were just coming about, and IBM and some of the bigger ones, blah, blah, blah. I was involved in computers. I was computer programming. I knew Fortran, Pascal, COBOL, BASIC. I'm trying to remember what else. And those became dinosaurs later on, which is really funny. I've always been on the bleeding edge of technologies. So what wound up happening is, in this interview, he says, man, you're a dinosaur. You do beautiful work, but you need to know CAD. I said, all I need is 2 weeks, and I will be up to speed. And they, of course, wouldn't do that. So, that's where I learned how to do Adobe Photoshop later on, Adobe Photoshop, Corel Draw, Adobe Illustrator. I learned all those things, but by that point, I didn't want to do drafting. I didn't want to do CAD or anything like that. I was like, I'm beyond that. I'm doing something totally different now. And again, I picked it up very quickly, the basics, and then, got good at it. Like I'm going to be designing another golf course game. Those are not my design, but there's one that I'm going to have to design myself using coins. So it's an old game. I'm going to try and do that. And you're going to be I'm going to use vectors and everything. So it's a shame. Yeah, most likely, I wouldn't remember a lot of the stuff. Like I used to use Photoshop when I had my photography business. And my photography business, I did a lot of Photoshop, touch-ups and things like that. I also I taught myself to do photo restoration. So you'd get this picture from the early 1900s, and part of it is watered, stained, or, it got ripped or cut away. And I learned to restore that and make it look like it was the original photograph, or do the colorization. So that's the other thing that I learned to do, was to colorize by hand photographs. Well, when I moved out here in 2009, well, actually when I went to Lockheed first, I put all that away and stopped doing it. So, then when I, sold all my equipment and everything, now that I'm back into this and I'm doing some basic patterns and everything, relearning Photoshop. So I forgot most of the basics. So I can imagine, CAD trying to, number one, relearn the techniques and the software, but how much has that software changed in those 19 years that you haven't used it? That's the other thing. I was in Photoshop, I think it's 6. Now they're at, I forgot what version is, but there's at least 5 different versions, and they've introduced so many different things. The fill and background removal and all kinds of fancy things. It's like, wow, more things to learn. But hey, as long as we're willing to learn, no matter what it is, keep on learning. Keep on learning. You can do amazing things. And again, I took some of my old-timey wood working techniques into scroll saw. Decided, hey, laser, I can do this. Advance it a little bit, balance it out. I never really carved before. The first time my mom bought me a carving set, I nearly took off. I think you can't see I can see the scar. You wouldn't be able to see the scar. Dummy me. Knife hand, holding hand, knife behind, holding hand. Well, you know where that's going. Boop, took off the top of my knuckle within the first 30 minutes. So, yeah, I didn't carve for a long time. So, needless to say, but yeah, actually my carving tools are over there. So yeah, holding hand behind, knife in front, go that way. Never there unless you have some form of protection, chainmail. Yeah, so I did that. So I didn't carve for a while. So, my carving technique, I have a lot to learn. And I watched I Love Spoons, and he's focused in with his camera, and I'm watching how him and his dad, Thomas, is working. It's like, okay, they're doing that. And I was asking them questions, and what chisels do you have? What do you like? What are you using? I'm asking all these questions here. And, it's like, okay, let me do it. I got cheap chisels. They didn't work. And now I got a little bit more expensive chisels. Like, I've got to save up, and I'll buy the really, really good chisels. But first, I've got to really learn how to sharpen these and strop them properly. I do have a neighbor who's a knife maker 2 doors down from me, between me and my daughter's house. and he's a knife maker, and he's willing to sharpen my stuff, but he's been deployed for a while, so hopefully I'll be able to catch up with him and get him to do that. So there you go. I think I've yacked enough, and I appreciate everybody who's been on so far. You know, again, take a look, read some of the stuff. There's a lot of reading material, so to speak, on my website. I do have, under the blog section, you would be more interested in what's on the workbench, is what the blog is called. But those are my press releases. Those are my thoughts that I've written. There's also, you know, the Scroll Saw Chronicles, which is the video, which if you're on Facebook, you already see those anyway, so you can ignore that. But if you sign up for the newsletter or my mailing list, I generally do 1 or 2 blog posts a month. You know, like I did one about my grandson. I also do the news releases that are linked to the news section on when toys go out. I've pre-written one for Memorial Day. That's why I've got to finish my piece to go along with it. You know, Christmas, all that is my thoughts. So you can see what I can write a little bit differently than just off the top of my head talking like this. You know, this is unscripted. I'm just blah, 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 blah. And, you know, trying to be, I hate it. When I first started, the first time I ever heard this, it was, okay, we're in a meeting here, and we're going to be open kimono. I was like, what? I never heard that term before. So for us, open bathrobe? No thank you, not the way I look nowadays. So, you know, that's being totally honest. So I try to be transparent and honest. So I share different things that I do share here to a certain extent, but I can get my thoughts a little bit better, you know, work them out, clarify it, and just get a decent message across. So I have that. So you'll see that under the blog section. Again, I do have a small gallery there. I do have a gallery of some of my favorite toys. I think I only have 5 or 6 right now. I got to put more up. I got so many favorite toys. But, you know, eventually I will be reaching out for people to help, mainly locally. But I don't know, maybe people out there, you know, providing, if I provide the wood or whatever, they can cut out basic patterns. I don't know. You know, you have the mailing expense and everything. I've got to figure out logistics and stuff like that. But I will be looking for volunteers, at least locally. Of course, financial help. You know, I go out and, you know, you're buying pegs. You know, I'm buying hundreds of pegs and wheels and honeycombs and big wheels, little wheels, and of course, the wood. I'm using hardwood. You know, it's expensive. These pieces, you know, generally, depending on how I do it, $2, $3, $4 a piece, give or take with the wheels and everything. But again, heirloom quality. So, you know, there's the financial support behind it as well. So all that's on the website. And I try and balance between the makers that are on board and just want to see what I'm doing, and reaching out for support in different ways. So I want to end that commercial there. So yeah, it's now 2 hours, 19 minutes, which is the longest I've gone on this. And I'm hungry, I'm tired, and I'm sure John's on, and I got to finish these things. So there we go. May the Lord richly bless you. And make it, remember, I say make it a great day right here, Poppy's Workshop. Take care, everybody.